It's hard to find a defense that was as elite for as much time as the Legion of Boom was. Seattle's defense from 2012 to 2017 was dominant, and it was mainly due in part to the Legion of Boom secondary, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, along with a couple of other solid players in that defensive backfield. It led Seattle to have the top defense in the league from 2012 to 2015. But despite the legendary stats behind this defense, there were still a couple of times where offenses exploited them. In this video, I will be taking a deep dive into the 5 worst games during the Legion of Boom era. First, let's go over some criteria for grading these games. The main stat I looked at was passing yards allowed. Since the Legion of Boom was mainly Seattle's secondary, I felt like the passing stats allowed were the most important one to take into consideration. I also took into consideration points allowed and how little turnovers Seattle's defense had during the game. Number 5 will be Week 14 of the 2016 season against the Packers. This was just an all-around horrible game for the Seahawks, both offensively and defensively. The Seahawks would lose this game 38-10, which at the time was the largest loss for the Legion of Boom. Seattle was at a disadvantage in a couple of different ways. Firstly, this was the first game without Earl Thomas, who was placed on IR the week before. Secondly, the defense was running on low rest, since Russell Wilson thought it would be a fun idea to toss 5 interceptions in this game. In turn, it didn't give Seattle's D a lot of break time in between drives. So with already taking 2 bullets to the knee, Aaron Rodgers decided to finish the job off by torching the Seahawks. Now, you may look at the box score and see that Rodgers only had 237 passing yards, which is good, but it isn't really elite, especially for a quarterback of Rodgers' caliber. But what it doesn't tell you is that A-Rod did all of that without playing in the 4th quarter, which makes it even more impressive. Combine that with the 3 touchdown passes to go along with it and 38 points total, it qualifies as the number 5 game on this list. Number 4 will be Week 10 during the 2015 season against the Cardinals. This was a hyped up matchup going into the game. Arizona would end up finishing with the league's 2nd best offense, scoring over 30 points per game, while passing for nearly 300 yards a game. An extremely tough challenge even for the Legion of Boom. Part of the reason why Arizona was succeeding was the combination of Bruce Arians and Carson Palmer. The former number 1 overall pick was having the best year in his career over 10 years after he was drafted. He would actually end up finishing 2nd in the MVP race due to how great his season was. And Palmer showed why he was MVP worthy on this night, throwing for over 360 yards and 3 touchdowns while also completing over 61% of his passes. Now, he did toss an interception, but the fact that he was able to perform this well against the league's number 1 defense cancels that out. Seattle struggled to keep up so much because the Cardinals had 2 great pass catchers, Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd, who was en route to a 1,000-yard season. Fitz popped off for 130 yards. Meanwhile, Floyd was able to have over 100 yards himself while also snagging 2 touchdown passes from Palmer. So the MVP runner-up, combined with 2 eventual 1,000-yard receivers for the season, led the Cardinals to dominating their division rivals, who had beaten them 4 out of the previous 5 times the 2 had played. Number 3 is Week 8 against the Houston Texans. This would end up being one of the penultimate games for the Legion of Boom, as both Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman would soon suffer season-ending injuries after this game, ending their tenure with the Seahawks. Defense was optional in this game versus the Texans, as the 2 teams would go on to combine for 79 points, with Seattle just beating out Houston 41-38. Part of the reason why this game makes the list is due to the fact that a rookie Deshaun Watson was embarrassing the Legion of Boom this day. Watson would finish with over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. When you subtract yards lost on sacks, the total passing yards for this game is set at 367, which is the second most the Seahawks allowed during the Legion of Boom era, to a rookie nonetheless. The only reason why this game isn't higher is due to the fact that Watson tossed 3 interceptions. I think a lot of people forget how different rookie Deshaun Watson was. Sure, he threw 3 interceptions in this game, but to have over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns against one of the best defenses in NFL history is unheard of. Just like in the previous game, the weapons Watson was throwing to made a huge impact on the Legion of Boom. Firstly, he had the best receiver in the league in DeAndre Hopkins as his main target, and on the other side, he had Will Fuller. He may not be the best receiver, but the defense had to respect the speed he brings. This opened up the field so much and allowed for Hopkins to have a field day, recording over 220 receiving yards, the second most in his career. The second worst game during the Legion of Boom era is Week 12 during the 2015 season against the Seahawks. This was an insane game, especially in the fourth quarter. Now, Seattle still won, but it wasn't an easy task to do so. Ben Roethlisberger had an astounding 456 passing yards in this game, by far the most the Legion of Boom had given up. Seattle's defense struggled to keep up with the amount of speed the Steelers had on their wide receiver core. They did a great job at shutting down Antonio Brown and Darius Hayward-Bay, but that allowed for Marcus Wheaton to have a 200-yard day against them. Marcus Wheaton. This game literally made up 25% of his total receiving yards for the season. Probably one of the most random receivers to have over 200 yards in a game, and he did it against the Legion of Boom. So if Big Ben had the most passing yards against Seattle during the LOB era, and they allowed Marcus Wheaton to have over 200 yards, why isn't this game number 1? Well, for starters, Seattle still edged out Pittsburgh for the win. The Seahawks also had 4 interceptions in the game. Had the Steelers' offense been a little cleaner, then this would have, without a doubt, been number 1. So what is the worst game ever for the Legion of Boom? Well, if you know me, then you know that I value playoff games more than regular season games. So naturally, the worst game came in the playoffs, and that was the 2016 Divisional Round against the Atlanta Falcons. I can see some people trying to point out some asterisks with this one. The Seahawks once again didn't have Earl Thomas, and the Falcons offense was historically great that year, led by MVP to be Matt Ryan. But the Seahawks had done a fantastic job in the past shutting down MVP quarterbacks. In 2013, Peyton Manning absolutely crapped the bed in the Super Bowl. In 2014, the Legion of Boom were able to shut down Aaron Rodgers twice. Same thing in 2015. Cam Newton had 2 of his worst games during his MVP campaign when he faced the Seahawks. That streak came to an end earlier in the 2016 season when the Falcons and Seahawks faced off against each other. Matt Ryan had a great game with 3 touchdowns and a passer rating of over 100. So you would think that with Seattle seeing him for a second time that they would do better, right? Wrong. Matt Ryan was actually able to improve upon his prior performance against the Legion of Boom. He had more passing yards, a higher completion percentage, and a higher passer rating than the Week 6 matchup, finishing with a stat line of 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a completion percentage of over 70, and a passer rating of 125.7. And it's not even like he just kept on targeting Julio Jones the entire game. Ryan did a fantastic job of spreading the ball out to all of his pass catchers, with none of them having over 100 yards. A true collaborative offensive effort to take down the Legion of Boom. So that's it for today's video. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. Goes a long way towards supporting me in this channel, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. Also, make sure you check out all my other social media links listed down in the description below. I have an Instagram, a TikTok, and a Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.